Audible? Namaskar. Today is the fourth satsang. I, Dr. Ranjita, on behalf of Hindu Janajagriti Samiti, welcome you all for today's satsang. Before starting with today's satsang, let us offer our prayer at the feet of our Pasya Devata. Oh God, it's because of your blessings that we are getting the spiritual guidance for which you give us the intellect to understand it and put it into practice. I pray at your feet that let me able to benefit from the satsang at the level of Chaitanya and intellect. Let us recite shloka of Sri Ganesha, the Lord of intellect and the removal of obstacles. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. I offer my prayers at the holy feet of Paratpar Guru Dr. Jayant Athwale, the founder of Sanatan Sanstha, and start today's satsang. Before we begin with the satsang, there are few instructions for all. This satsang will be conducted on Teams app. As this satsang will be in audio format, everyone can take care to see that their videos are switched off. This will help save everyone's time. Every second of this satsang is important, so please take care that your mic is muted. You can write notes of what you have learned about spiritual practice from today's satsang in your notebook so that it will always be useful in future. The more you participate in the satsang, the more you will be your efforts in the spiritual practice. With this view, let us all participate in the satsang wholeheartedly and with the concentration. And now I would hand over mic to Dr. Vatsala Kashi ma'am to continue with the satsang.
Thank you, Dr. Ranjita. Am I audible?
Yes, doctor.
Shall I continue?
Yes, doctor.
Okay. I am Dr. Vatsala, a practicing physician. I feel honored and blessed to be able to take this session as part of my seva to my Guru, to be able to address all of you and pass on some information that I have got from my Guru to all of you. Let me first of all tell about what is going to be the structure of today's satsang. In today's satsang, the total duration will be about 45 to 50 minutes, out of which the initial 30-35 minutes I will be talking about the topics. So after the last 15 minutes are reserved for question answer session. So initially we will do a very brief review of last week's satsang topic. Then we will take up the topic for today. After that, we will have a question answer session for any questions related to today's topic. Okay. After that, we will have a session on subtle dimension, like we had last time also, an experiment. After that, we will have question answer session related to the subtle dimension. Thereafter, I will want to take a review of your efforts at sadhana, your questions and difficulties in sadhana. After that, we will pay gratitude to our Upasya Devata and stop. Okay. So to begin with, let me do a brief review of the topic that we covered last time. What we learned last time was that spiritual practice of chanting, that is Nama Japa as spiritual practice, has benefits at the physical level, at the psychological level, as well as at the spiritual level. At the physical level, we saw two things. One was the reduction of psychosomatic illnesses that are caused due to anxiety, depression, and all. Second thing we saw was how certain particular namajapas help with certain diseases and certain ailments. That is the physical benefits. Then the effects of chanting at the mental benefits was improvement of concentration, attaining a peaceful state of mind, overcoming anxiety and obsessive thinking. Then at spiritual level, we saw how it helps to progress spiritually and how it is the most suited and most easily doable kind of spiritual practice in today's times, with the kind of lifestyle that we have, where we are constantly on the go physically as well as we are short of time. So we saw overall, we saw all the benefits that we get from chanting. In the previous sessions, we have discussed about how each one of us should be chanting a minimum number of chanting of Kuladevata's name, and also a minimum number of chanting of Sri Gurudeva Datta, that is to overcome the difficulties that are posed by the problems created by unliberated or dissatisfied ancestral souls. And we have also learned till today that at the present time in Kali Yuga, more than 90% of people do have problems in their life which are created by the unliberated ancestral souls. And the Kuladevata chanting is because we are born in this kula, in this particular kula or family, because that Kuladevata is in charge of our whole life in this birth. So we had decided, we have understood that we have to do the Kuladevata chanting and we have to do the Sri Gurudeva Datta chanting. Then we saw the benefits that happen out of chanting. So I presume that quite a number of you would hopefully have started with the chanting. And anyway, knowing a little more about how to chant, what are the ways of chanting, how to improve one's chanting, will help to increase our chanting and our liking to chanting. And if we have some extra knowledge about chanting, it will also motivate us to chant so that we can get those experiences also. So in today's topic now, I'm going to discuss about the modes of chanting, modes and methods of chanting. Am I clear till now? Any doubts? Shall I continue? Dr. Ranjita?
Yes, please.
Okay. If any time any of you feel that I'm fast, or if you cannot comprehend, you may please say namaskar and I will stop and will take up whatever is the issue. Okay? Is it clear? Okay. So we are talking about what are the methods of chanting. So there are basically two ways of chanting. Gross classification I'm talking about. One is writing the chanting and the other we will call it as non-writing methods. Okay. So writing the chanting, that what is called as likhita japa. Okay. So in the likhita japa, what one does is pen and paper, sit in one place and write the chanting. So in this way, what one understands how while doing the likhita japa, that is writing the japa, what are all the organs that are involved in this activity. One is our eyes are involved, our hands are involved, our intellect is engaged and mind is also engaged. So the eyes, hands, intellect and mind, all four are engaged. That is how it helps to get better concentration while writing, and the mind wandering here and there gets reduced. Okay. So the benefit is it helps to get concentration in chanting, and definitely it is a very good way to begin chanting. Thus, it helps we can dedicate a time slot and a place, and ensure that we do a minimum number of chanting in a day. So one can either fix the time for which one is going to chant, either say 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or whatever. Or one may chant the number of times that one is going to chant. Or one may fix the number of pages one is going to chant according to one's time available. So one can fix this. So it helps in doing a concentrated japa. Second thing, it helps also to get into the discipline of chanting. It helps one to get into the discipline of chanting without fail. So make it a habit. Okay. And the other point, which is a very great advantage of written japa, is when we keep the sheets or the notebooks on which we have written the name of God in our house or in our workplace, it helps to purify the vastu or the aura in that house. It brings it makes the energy in that house very positive. And thus, by making it positive, in case there are any negative energies, thus it will counter the effect of those negative energies also. As we all know, nowadays the Vastu Shastra has become very popular, and many times one spends a lot of money and time, energy in trying to repair the Vastu. So, to some extent, if until such time as one can do those things also, if we keep writing the japa and keeping in the house, it will also help to some extent to mitigate the effect of negative energies inside the Vastu. Uh, but as we know, since we cannot be, one may not always get time to sit in a place properly and write and all that, one should also develop the other modes of chanting. The other 2 points I wanted to highlight about written japa is for children. Suppose you have children in the house in whom you want to get the habit of inculcate the habit of writing the japa. This is a very good method. You give them a new notebook, new pen, fix a time, and you fix that after you do this, you are going to play for this much time, or after you do this, I will give you this kind of reward. So it will help them to get into the habit of chanting. And as children, it is very difficult for them to sit in one place, just chant loudly in the mouth or mentally. So when their hand is engaged, eyes, intellect, mind are engaged, they will definitely do it, and that will be a beginning of years and years of chanting to be done in their lifetime. You will be putting a very good, very nice sanskar into the children by getting them to do the written chanting. And the other extreme also, in elderly people who also find it difficult to concentrate, but if their eyesight is good and if their hands are good enough to hold the pen and write, for them also it is a very good way of keeping the mind engaged and keeping the mind on the chanting. So this is about likhita japa. And one will also know, you must have all come across a lot of temples, organizations, religious, spiritual organizations, which develop, which conduct abhiyan, like we say we are going to do koti nama japa. So we want all of you to write this much nama japa. They distribute notebooks with, printed, and then one is supposed to fill up that notebook and give. These are all the ways in which Nama Japa is initiated. And as we know, many of these organizations, once the chanting is over, they collect all those books back and they keep them in a place in a very pure environment. So that also charges all the area in and around where those notebooks and those written sheets are kept. So this is the importance of writing Nama Japa or the Likhita Nama Japa. The other week comes is by one's Vani or voice. So in this, we have the loud chanting, that is chanting by, in a loud voice, such that the person who chants can hear, and even on many occasions, a little louder if one chants, the other family members in the house also can hear. Okay, so this is the loud chanting. Then we have what is called as the mental chanting or chanting inside one's mind. Okay. Now, the other thing, coming to the chanting the same, I want to classify the spiritual classification of the chanting. What we have done now, the chanting classification written or by mouth. voice. And then we have classified the by voice into loud chanting and chanting in the mind. These are the gross classification at the physical level. Now, let us come to understand a purely spiritual topic, which will be very informative to all of you, because when we start chanting and we read about Nama Japa and all, we hardly come to know that there is so much to chanting. We tend to think that chanting means hold the mala, or without the mala, just go on saying in the mouth. So it is not, that is the beginning, of course, but the chanting occurs in different vanis. See the depth up to which, our spiritual science, the Indian spiritual science, the science of sound, the science of japa has advanced, ages ago. So we have, and at the spiritual level, we classify the chanting into four vanis, or four types of voice or sound rather. The names are, the first one is called as the Vaikhari Vani. Am I audible?
Yes, Dr. Vatsala.
Yeah, I'm not. Why are the slides changing? I'm not able to see the slides.
No, the slides are not changing.
Dr. Anjesh, are you there? Can you please change the slides? Dr. Ranjita, can you please check why the slides are not changing?
Yes, doctor.
Please check with Dr. Anjesh. I've
Dr.
come to the
Vatsala,
slide which says.
You can do it yourself. You can do it yourself.
I don't
there
think
is
I
an
have
arrow
control.
at the end.
Okay.
You can move it to
Fine,
the right.
fine. Yes. I got it. Yes. Thank you. So we discussed about writing of the chants. Okay. Then we have come to the, I said the four modes of chanting. One is the Vaikhari. The second is the Madhyama. Those of you who are interested can write down. The first one is what we call as Vaikhari. Second one is called as Madhyama. Third one is what we call as Pashyanti. And the fourth one is called as Para. I think that slide is missing. It is P-A-R-A-A. Para. So we got four names: Vaikhari, Madhyama, Pashyanti, and Para. So we talk first of the Vaikhari mode of chanting. Vaikhari mode of chanting is the, what one would say, like I start saying now. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So like this, I have started chanting loudly. I am able to hear. You are also able to hear in a loud voice. This is called as Vaikhari. While chanting in the Vaikhari mode, what happens is, for an initial seeker, or for a seeker who has difficulty in concentrating, this kind of chanting aloud helps the person to say the chant aloud, get involved in that activity, and also hear it. So the tendency for the mind to wander is less. So it helps to concentrate. The other benefit of Vaikhari Vani chanting is, because one is chanting aloud, one is forced to, sort of take in the breath, leave out the breath in a rhythmic manner along with the chanting. That is why how one also gets the indirect benefit of pranayam, or the breathing techniques. The third benefit of chanting in Vaikhari mode is, since the sound emanating from me fills the surrounding, fills the room and the whole house and surrounding also becomes sattvic. Another benefit is, if I am chanting and others in the family also hear it, gradually, throughout the day, in between, that chant reverberates in their ears also. They also start chanting. So it helps them to develop the chanting habit in them also, and also helps to evoke the sattvic emotions in others also. However, this kind of mode of chanting has got one disadvantage. Rather, I would say two disadvantages. Of course, we should take it that if the benefit is outweighing the disadvantage, we'll take the benefit and ignore. The first disadvantage of Vaikhari mode of chanting is when we go on chanting aloud, we are not able to go into a thoughtless state. As we know, getting through the thoughtless state of mind, reaching a state where there are no thoughts in the mind is required for and is also a sign of spiritual progress. So if we go on developing the habit of only chanting all the time loudly, 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 then what happens is we will find it difficult to go into the thoughtless state. So it is important that we realize that Vaikhari mode of chanting is a very good mode to begin chanting. But eventually one has to remember that one has to go to the mental chanting level, chanting in the mind. Okay. The other disadvantage of chanting in Vaikhari mode is suppose there are others in the family who are on a different path. They may be doing the path of dhyana or they may be doing a different chant. Somebody has got a Guru mantra, somebody is following the ISKCON mission, so they are chanting Hare Krishna mantra, whereas I am chanting Kula Devata mantra. So it should not happen that my chanting loudly interferes with their usage of their time and the fact that they are chanting. So it should not disturb them. So one has to be careful to not to pay attention so as to not be the benefit is not outweighed by the disadvantage that happens. Is this point clear? Okay.
Yes.
Then I
Yes,
will
Dr.
continue.
Vatsala.
Yeah, I will continue. Okay. Yeah. Now that brings us to the second mode of chanting from the spiritual classification point of view. Okay. So chanting in the Madhyama Vani. Now this Vani is called Madhyama because it is in the middle, in the Madhya, between the Vaikhari Vani and the next Vani, which is called as the Pashyanti Vani. So this Vani is called the Madhyama Vani. This is the state when chanting starts happening automatically in the mind. It becomes like autopilot. Suppose those of you, if you have started chanting for some time now, and if you have been chanting, with a significant amount of time in a day daily, you will find that sometimes when you're not engaged in any physical activity or intellectual activity, you are just sitting quietly, you'll find that suddenly there's chanting going on inside. That is what we mean by the Madhyama or automatic chanting or spontaneous chanting. There are a lot of seekers, in Sanatan Sanstha as well as Hindu Janajagrati Samiti who find that they have, been chanting for some time, chanting. Then it so happens that when they wake up in the night to drink water or to use the washroom, they find that the first thing that they become aware of is the chanting in the mind. So that shows their level of chanting. Just from the conscious mind and from the loud Vani, it has gone into the next Vani, that is the Madhyama Vani. So this happens when, by persistent and consistent chanting over a period of time, a center of chanting has been created in one's subconscious mind. So whenever the mind is unengaged or free, this center, if it becomes strong enough and powerful enough, it keeps working. It keeps sending impulses to the conscious mind so that as soon as one is alert and aware and free, one can hear that the chanting is going on. I would like to know whether any of you have, experienced this kind of thing. I will wait for a few seconds. If any of you have experienced this kind of thing, spontaneous thing, I definitely would like to know about it. Anyone? You can put it in the conversation, in the chat also.
Dr. Lavanya here.
Yeah.
Yes,
Please tell me.
Yeah, many of the times I've realized that unconsciously or in the auto mode, my mind is chanting. Though at
Yes.
points of time I don't realize that I would have initiated it consciously, but I think at some point
Yes.
it has taken an auto mode.
Yes. That is a
And
very
the,
good sign. And as, yeah, anything more?
and the example that you shared, like when I get up in the night or I wake up in the morning, and I
Yeah,
realize that I don't know whether for how long the chanting has been going on in my head or in my body, then it's a different kind of
yeah,
feeling.
yeah. Very nice. We don't know whether you've been chanting whole night, Dr. Lavanya.
No, I don't know either.
Yes, yes. It is, as I mentioned during my talk,
We lost you, Dr. Vatsala.
and I think that all of us should draw inspiration from Dr. Lavanya. Uh, Maybe we could talk to her, after the session is over and try to find out what effort she has put to increase her chanting. See how it has gone into the Madhyama mode from Vaikari. This is very inspiring to me also, Dr. Lavanya. I do hope and pray that all of you also who are participating should also try and get into this Madhyama mode of chanting sooner. Okay, now anyone else?
There is a message in the chat box also. Dr.
Yes, please tell me,
Vishwanath,
Dr. Ranjita.
Dr. Vishwanath D has happened as a part of a dream. Chanting has happened as a part of a dream, is said by him.
Oh, okay, good, very nice. Dr. Vishwanath, see, one has to remember that what you have told is a very important point. What you are saying that chanting is happening in the dream. Is it that you are chanting or in the dream you are chanting?
Namaste.
Yes, doctor.
Yeah. I have it. It has occurred as a dream, and I have woken up chanting in the. I mean, it's a part of a dream, and later I realize I'm chanting. After I get up, I realize it's a dream.
Yes, but that is also an indication that your chanting has been going on.
Yeah.
And it would maybe you could start being objectively aware hereafter. It's like suppose when you're traveling and you're sitting quietly, when just watch your thoughts. Say that I just want to be quiet for some time. Let your thoughts slow down. See whether the chanting is occurring inside. Okay. That is a very good thing. And another incidental point at this juncture, which I would clarify, is any kind of spiritual event happening in the dream. Like if you happen to see devatas, if you happen to see saints, or if you have a dream that you are chanting, they are also indications to the seeker to suggest that one is on the right path. So these are to be taken as positive indicators.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Ma'am, dear, it is Dr. Madhavi.
Yes, please tell me.
When I was a child, I was sitting for bhajan with my grandfather, and he used to always chant Om Namo Narayanaya. So that has become a habit for me. And whenever now I drive, whenever I am alone, if there is nothing else I am doing, it comes automatically.
Very nice, very nice, very nice, very nice. I'm really happy. Very good. So your chanting also is happening in the Madhyama mode. Yeah, only you didn't know the word, that's all. So you are also on the right path. You are also right path, and you have to intensify your spiritual practice, because another important thing that what Dr. Athavale, my guru, has taught us is once the this kind of thing has happened, that when you are when you are unoccupied, it starts spontaneously. It means that definitely in this birth as well as in the next birth, you're definitely going to progress. And what effort you need to put is to take your chanting into the further vanis of Pashyanti Parais, do the other aspects of sadhana. That is, to remain in satsang, to do seva, to do tyag. These are the things that you need to go into the other two modes, that is Pashyanti and Para.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Shall I continue? Very good. I'm very happy with all three of you. And of course, happy with all others also who will also be putting efforts.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anyone else?
I have a quick question, Dr. Vatsala.
Yes.
Because we are exposed to a lot of Carnatic music, our mind also rings in the music which is in the praise of the Lord. Is it considered chanting or is it not? That's what I want.
Yes, I've written down your question. We'll take it in the question answer session.
Sure.
Okay. Anyone else? Dr. Ranjita, anything in the chat box?
No, doctor, you can continue with the satsang.
Okay. So now we come to the Pashyanti mode of chanting. Okay. Those of you who know Sanskrit will know that Pashya means to see. To see. The word Pashya means to see. Pashyanti japa means the japa that occurs in a person who is able to see. Now, what does this see mean? See, we all are able to see, but we are not talking of the ordinary seeing. We are referring to the Trikala Jnanis, or what we call as Drashta. Drashta means the saints and the highly evolved souls, gurus, who are able to see across time. Look into the past, look into the present, past, as well as future. They are the ones to whom we are referring. They are the ones who see, in quotes, they see the Trikal. So they are Trikala Jnanis or they are Drashtas. The chanting or the Nama Japa that happens in these people, in these seers, saints and rishis who are able to see across time, that Vani of chanting is what is called as Pashyanti. So it also has another meaning. Once they have reached the stage of, Sakshi Bhav, beyond a particular spiritual evolution, that's when they are able to look at their own chanting. Here means I suppose let us say Yogananda Paramahamsa is the one who is chanting and he is able to see his chanting. So there are two entities, the chanter, rather three, the one who is chanting, the process of chanting, and what is being chanted, okay, and the actual chant. So these three. So in the Pashyanti mode, these three entities are there, and this is at a much, much deeper level. It happens in the Jeev. In these also, it is automatic, okay. Now the next level of chanting is what we call as the para. So what I told you about the Pashyanti mode of chanting, that the phenomenon of chanting is there, the person who is chanting is there, and the actual chant or the japa, it is there. Now the fourth level of chanting is what is called as para chanting. In the para mode of chanting, the person who chants becomes totally one with the chant and actually has no awareness of his own existence. So this you can see, you can conclude it will only happen in very, very highly evolved saints. I don't know if any of you are exposed to the literature of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and all. There's a famous Naam or Nami Ek. That is the way Paramahamsa describes. And as we know, Paramahamsa was the embodiment of Bhav. Bhav means actually experiencing God, the way he experienced Devi, Kalima, and everything. So he was the personification of, if we want to pinpoint a saint who was in Bhavavastha all the time, it is Paramahamsa. So he was he always described this, Naam or Nami Ek. So the chanting and the person who is chanting and the chant itself, it all becomes one, and he has no awareness of himself. So it happens as very, 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 very high levels of evolution, in which case that person's own mind is totally, sort of very close to empty, hardly anything connected to self, and it has hardly any limits. So a person with very evolved consciousness, more of God consciousness and very little of consciousness about the living, his body, his mind, or his own possessions, or his relatives, or things like that. Such is a person in whom the chanting occurs in the para mode. Okay. So now we have covered what is Vaikhari, what is Madhyama, what is Pashyanti, what is para. So there's an exercise which all of you have to do now. Means please note down in your books. Those who have not started japa will start with the Likhita japa or Vaikhari japa. Those who are already doing Vaikhari japa should try to put in effort to make the chanting more and more and more. And I have to talk next about the mental chanting. And Madhyama chanting will happen with the mental chanting. So those who have not started, please do start chanting in Vaikhari mode, written or loud. And then one has to go to the mental chanting, and by one starts doing the mental chanting, one has to go to the Madhyama mode of chanting. In the next satsang, I will want to ask how many more have progressed into the Madhyama mode of chanting. I think it is agreeable to everybody. I want everyone to just type a quick yes in the chat box that we are going to start effort. We are going to start with the chanting on a regular basis. And let us see, maybe we could take this, generally it is said that it takes a few months to go from the Vaikhari to the Madhyama. Some of you can observe, that if you start from today, then how long it takes for you to go to the Madhyama Vani. And Dr. Ranjita, any answers in the chat box?
Yes. Doctor.
There are answers? Yes. Okay. I will presume that everybody else also is saying yes, because we say in Sanskrit, Maunam Artha Sammati. So if you have kept quiet, whatever, because of error, can't type fast or distraction or anything, I will presume that everybody has agreed, and let us call it a deal between me and all of you that you are all going to start chanting, and keep the target that within a few months we want to go to the Madhyama mode of chanting. Okay. So now next I to the point of chanting mentally. Okay, chanting mentally, as we said, this is very simple and self-explanatory. I don't think I need to tell much about it. Whatever you are chanting loudly, you don't produce sound from the mouth, but you start chanting. I want all of you to also, those who are in Madhyama need not go backwards and try to do this experiment, but the others can try to do this. Yes? Anything? I think Dr. S.S. Lakshmi Narayan is unmuted. Yes, please tell me.
Hello. Hello. Dr. Mallikarjun from.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, please tell me.
I am chanting every day Sahasranamas, one or other. That means Dattatreya Sahasranama or Shiva Sahasranama or Vishnu Sahasranama, like that. Anyone.
Yes.
Entire Sahasranama every day.
Yeah. Yes.
That's all.
That is good. But I will come to the difference between the chanting of Sahasranama and what Nama Japa I am telling at the QA session, along with Dr. Lavanya's question. Okay?
I have to attend one patient.
I will take this question. I will take the question in the question answer session. Anything else?
Hello,
yes?
madam. Namaste.
Yes.
Madam, I am Dr.
Yes.
Mallikarjun Giramet from Karwar.
Yeah.
Madam, I am beginning. I am now beginning to start Nama Japa chanting.
Yes.
Since 3 months, I am chanting, madam. But I can't concentrate on every time because my mind goes anywhere, and I will stop that. And again, I remember, and then I start, madam. Like that, I am doing now.
Yes. That is also a very good effort. And yes.
Yes, madam. And I am also chanting Lalita Sahasranama and Vishnu Sahasranama daily.
Yes.
Yes, madam.
Okay.
And
we will come to the point.
Yes, madam. How to improvement because in meeting I'm just joined, madam. I'm not here.
We will. Very good. You have asked a very good question. We will tackle that question also in the QA session.
Yes, madam. Okay, madam.
Okay. We'll take it. Yes, yeah. Any other questions, or shall I proceed? Okay. So now we were talking about the chanting. I was trying to suggest that when you start chanting in the mind, in the chanting, try to see where the chanting is occurring, whether it is happening at the level of your lips, whether it is happening at the level of the tongue, whether it is happening at the level of the throat, or further deep down. This is an exercise for everybody. When you may be chanting, for especially Dr. Mallikarjun, the question that you asked of just now, you try to observe where the chanting is happening. That will also help you to concentrate. And other methods of concentrating also, we will take it in the QA session. Okay. So the exercise for everybody is to begin chanting. Those who have not begun, those who have begun, try to increase the chanting. And while chanting, try to observe where the chanting is happening. Okay. So we've discussed the loud chanting and the chanting in the mind. We have discussed about the modes of chanting. That is the Vaikhari, Madhyama, Pashyanti and Para. This is the order in which it goes. Now, let us talk about how to use a mala for doing japa. Now, first of all, I want to ask a question. I want all of you to give your answers quickly. Is japamala necessary to do japa?
No,
Dr.
ma'am.
Ranjita, can you please track the answers? Or all of you can just, unmute, say quickly yes, no, one by one.
No, ma'am. Dr. Madhavi here.
Okay.
Not necessary, Dr. Lavanya here.
Okay. Yeah. Next.
Yes, ma'am, not required. Vishwanath here, Dr. Vishwanath.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. The others?
Not required.
Okay. Okay. So anybody is saying yes?
Madam,
I want that person.
one more question. Yeah. Madam,
Yes.
chanting of different god, I am chanting in, is it good or chanting only one god? Or
We'll take that also in the question answers. Okay, I will take that also. Okay. About the japa, anybody feels that answer is yes, that whether mala is required?
I'm Dr. Madhavi. My husband, Dr. Vijay Kumar, uses japamala. He says he needs.
Okay, he needs. Okay, yeah. But you don't feel it is required. Okay. So anyway, let us come to the answer to that question. See, japamala is required only for, a few reasons. The one reason is if we are finding it difficult to concentrate, we can try to hold a mala and chant. Okay, one. Second thing, sometimes, if you are as a part of some particular vrata or particular, for a particular remedy, you are doing a japa or anything, that time you would have been told that you have to complete that minimum number of chants. So at that time, mala is required. So two situations. One is when it is when you feel it will help you to concentrate. Second thing is when you need to keep count of how many times you are chanting. That is when we are doing for a particular purpose. That way. So that time chanting with the mala is required. According to our satsangs, what we have told before, it is essential that we should chant minimum of 3 malas of Sri Gurudev Datta. So one may use a mala. But otherwise, that is only to keep count. But on an average, 3 malas of Datta Japa will take 15 minutes. So if you chant for 15 minutes without mala also, it is fine. Okay. So anyway, as a part of, knowing about the mala, since we're talking about Nama Japa, I'll just tell briefly about the Japa. I think we have about 23:33. About 10-12 minutes left. So if I take up this topic of Japamala within the 5-7 minutes, then we may have some 10 minutes for the question answer session. Okay. So generally the mala that is used is consisting of 108 beads, and there is one mani which is not counted. That is called as a Meru mani. So 108 plus 1. So it is 109. But when we say the mala is of 108 beads, means it is 108 counts, 108 beads. 8 beads, and one is the Meru mani or the mani which is in the middle. So the purpose of, and there are in certain situations under special occasions, mala with less number, different number also could be chanted. For example, some followers in some Shaiva Sampradaya people, they use mala of 32 beads. Or sometimes some people use a mala of 9 beads and do 12 rounds of that 9 to get 108. Or there is something called Karamala, of 27 beads. So when you do that particular number of rounds with that 27 beads also, you can count to the number of 108. Because it is a handy mala, you can just put it in your hand when on your wrist, and then when you want it, you pull it into your hand to do the counting. That you can do. Lot of seekers, and myself included, what we do is we keep that kind of mala in the hand, in the wrist, and whenever we are free, we take it on the hand on the fingers and start chanting, so that one remembers to chant. One does not, mind does not go wandering here and there. Okay. So what is the significance of this 108 beads? There is another method which is there also, which is called mala, but it is not to be actually a literally mala. It is, you count the joints in the interphalangeal joints. We have these lines, no? So based on that, there is a way of counting clockwise, counterclockwise. With that also, you can come to a count of 20 that we can look into in some successive satsangs. Okay. The significance of 108 beads is, according to Kundalini Yoga, the number of beads in the mala it represents the 108 pressure points in the body. According to Bhakti Yoga, if we see, we have this Ashtottara. So the 108 beads represent the 108 names of Sri Vishnu, Shiva, etc. In the Jnana, according to Jnana Yoga, the 108 beads, they signify the 108 forms of knowledge or 108 vidyas. Okay. And as I said, the central mani is called as the Meru Mani. Okay. Now, whenever we are using a Japamala, it is important that one should not cross the Meru Mani. The central mani is not to be crossed over. So what I mean is, if you imagine Japamala, you start from the mani, you hold the mala in your hand, and you hold on to the first bead, okay, and pull it towards you. Remember, the mala action always has to be pulling the bead towards you, not pushing the bead away from you. You have to pull the bead towards you. When you count the first bead, pull it towards you. 1, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Second, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Pull towards you. You keep on doing counting till 108, you will reach the Meru Mani. So when you reach just before the Meru Mani, the 108 bead you would have reached, you should not cross over the Meru Mani and start chanting from the other mani. What you have to do is turn the mala and start chanting back again from the same mani on which you last stopped. Okay. There is a definite significance for this, and it is related to the two nadis in our body, that is the Ida Nadi and the Pingala Nadi. For a seeker, what is important is not to have continuous flow in the Ida Nadi or the Pingala Nadi, but to try to get the Sushumna Nadi activated. Okay. Now, see, a simple thing like chanting also, there is so much shastra or science behind it. So, and even in holding how we use the mala. Okay. Coming to the next point. One is as I said before, we have to hold the mala in the right hand. Then you have to pull the beads towards you. Okay. Then there are two ways of doing the counting. One method is you keep the mala on the middle joint of the middle finger of the right hand and pull the mala beads towards you one by one using the thumb. The index finger should not touch the mala. That is one way. So after this satsang, those of you who have a mala can practice. You keep the mala such that it rests on the middle joint of the middle finger of the right hand. Then you pull the mani towards yourself one by one, one by one. Okay. The other method is to hold the mala on the ring finger. Okay. And join it to the thumb. You join the ring finger and the thumb, and using you join the middle finger of the right hand and the thumb, ring finger and the thumb, and pull the mani towards you using the middle finger. I think I confused you. You hold the mala on the ring finger, touch the tip of the thumb to the tip of the ring finger so that the mala will not fall off, and pull the mala towards you with the middle finger. Again, here also index finger should not touch the mala. These are the two ways of how to count the beads. It is very important to pull the beads towards you. So those who have studied Ayurveda, you will know that there are different types of vayus. The prana vayu, apana vayu, samana vayu, all this. So when we are pulling the bead towards ourselves, prana vayu gets activated. That is why one has to pull the mala towards oneself rather than pushing it outwards. Okay. Any questions about this? Those of you who have a mala at home, you can try this. And it is also a good method to initiate children. If you give them a mala and tell them you count like this, they get very engrossed in that process, and you can get them into the habit of chanting with a mala. And whatever mala you may be doing, you may be doing in your mind, but if you want to create a sanskar in the child's mind, if you sit quietly and chant, your child may not know. So if you sit and you make a child to sit along with you, you hold a mala and let child also hold a mala. So it's a very, very good way, child also starts following you. Children, as we know, they are what we call anukarana priya, means they will do what we do. We tell them to do something they may not do, but what we actually ourselves do, they will follow us automatically. So that is also one advantage of using the mala. So you can reserve little time, you and your child sit together and do the chanting. You and your grandchild sit and do the chanting. That also can be done. Okay. Now coming to the types of beads that are used. Okay. Generally, the types of beads depend on the devata whose japa you are doing. For example, if you are doing japa of Shiva or any names of Shiva, you may be saying Om Namah Shivaya, you may be saying Shri Mallikarjunaya Namaha, Shri Vishwanathaya Namaha, Kala Bhairavaya Namaha, whatever is your family deity you may be chanting. If it is a form of Shiva, then you can use the mala made of Rudrakshi. If you are chanting the name of any form of Vishnu, you are saying Sri Vishnave Namaha, or you are saying Narasimhaya Namaha, or you are saying Om Namo Narayanaya, Lakshmi Narayanaya, any forms of Vishnu, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. You can also use the beads which are made of Tulasi. Okay, then the other important thing is sometimes for other deities, coral or pearl can be used for worship of Durga Devi. Golden beads can be used for worship of Sri Lakshmi. Rakta Chandan can be used for Tripura Devi. And ivory beads can be used for Lord Ganesha. So, and generally, if these are all, like with a particular purpose when we are doing. But for spiritual progress, if you are not so, it is not much for an earthly objective or anything. And if your objective is to ensure that I want to do this minimum chanting, don't be very rigid about using this mala only. Suppose your family deity is Mallikarjuna, but you have a Tulasi mala. Don't say that, not that any harm is going to happen by chanting with Tulasi Mala, Shiva's name. No harm is going to come. Your benefit may be little marginally less, but the fact that you are chanting is so important, and keeping count and, trying to develop a discipline in chanting, that is so important that don't get carried away by this thing about the mala. Some time may pass before you get that kind of mala. So don't waste that much time and wait for that particular beat to come. So start the chanting. What is important is to start chanting right away. Any questions? Dr. Ranjita, can we take questions? Hello? Namaste.
Doctor?
Yes?
Yes, doctor.
Can I take these 4 questions first? In the meantime, do we have any more questions in the chat box or on YouTube?
Yes, sure, doctor. I'll inform you.
Yeah, I will be taking all these 4 questions which are there at present now. Okay? Yeah. Dr. Lavanya's question about Carnatic music. See, when we are listening to music and we are having a devotion towards that particular deity, it is much better than listening to any other kind of music, where here you are listening to devotional music. And when you listen to that music, you get the bhav or the devotion for that particular deity. However, the same time, if you chant the God's name in that much time, instead of listening to the music, you will have more benefit because of chanting rather than listening to music. I'll explain the reason for this. See, there is a principle that Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha and Shakti are together. Okay. So whatever the deity signifies, its whole description, everything is already there in the name. So if you go on chanting the name, it is much easier to create a center for that one chant rather than for the different descriptions of the deity. For example, you say Om Namo Bhagavate. Suppose I say Dr. Ranjita. So the moment I say Dr. Ranjita, how tall she is, how good she is, whether her eyes are blue or black, what has she studied, everything is already there. Once you say, it is a short form for everything that Dr. Ranjita stands for. So like that, if you say Sharadamba, when you say the word Sharadamba, whatever Sharadamba stands for, her love, her affection, her Bhakta Vatsalya, how she looks, everything is included in that. So it is better to go on chanting the name of the Devata rather than listening to music. But the sub-corollary to that, we have to remember, see, chanting by itself sometimes becomes monotonous. And then sometimes we think it is going on, mechanically, and we don't feel anything. We don't feel any bhakti or anything. At such times, one can stop the chanting and listen to the music and the description of the Devata, so that, the mind gets a little change and gets alerted. And then again, you can go back to doing the Nama Japa. So music is important. And the ragas in the Carnatic music also, many of them are, such that they will evoke particular emotions. Like some raga will evoke the emotion of Ananda, whereas one raga will evoke the emotion of Sharanagati. So depending on what you're feeling, like if you're feeling helpless, you can play the Devata's music, Kriti, in that raga. That raga will also help you, and that bhava will also help you. But remember, your point is to try to do more and more chanting. Music listening can be used to increase the bhav intermittently. Dr. Lavanya?
Yes, Dr. Vatsala.
Is it clear? Okay,
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I go to the let me go to the next question about Sahasranama. This chanting of Sahasranama is a very common practice, and it is a very good practice. However, one has to go from chanting the Sahasranama to chanting one Nama. The reason for that is, again, all the energy, the different names are there for gods because they have, if I may use a worldly word, it is, each one has got a particular role or a job profile. So each name has got a particular energy and a particular function. So if your Kula Devata's name is of, say, Lalita Devi, a form of Lalita Devi, you should chant that name for maximum period of time. Of course, again, as I mentioned about the Carnatic music and getting the bhav, you can do the chanting of the Sahasranama once a day or twice a day. But rather than chanting that whole Sahasranama all the time, you should do one chanting all the time and in between to increase your bhav. And also, you get lot of energy from the other names also. It is not that the other names are not without energy. So you say the whole thing also. For example, if a person has, if I want to give B complex supplement for a person, if the person has B12 deficiency, I give B12 in larger quantity, but I also give a B complex because other deficiencies may also be there. So if you have a basic Devata, Durga, Lalita, Adi Shakti, like that, so that is the main Devata, but particular name, the form which is your Kula Devata is the one which is very specific for you. So you should chant that for greater number of time. And as I said, again, the mind tends to feel, it is monotonous, the chanting becomes mechanical. So you can give the mind a little variety. Instead of going into some Rajasic topic, some worldly topic, you keep it on the name of on the Sahasranama. So chanting Sahasranama is good, but that is not the best thing to be done. If you can chant all the time your one name, you will see the progress and changes much more rapidly. You will get spiritual experiences much more rapidly than if you go on chanting the Sahasranama. I remember once long ago when we used to take satsangs, we had met a lady by name Mrs. Kamath. We used to call her Amma all the time. She had been chanting Lalita Sahasranama 15 to 20 times in a day for so long. but she had not got a single anubhuti. She was a very devoted lady, elderly, 70 plus. But after starting her Kuladevata's chanting, she started chanting her Lalita Sahasranama 2 times a day, once in the morning and once in the evening. And rest of the day, she started the Kuladevata chanting. Within 2 months, she had the experience of, a spiritual experience where she could feel the presence of Devi near her. When there was no agarbatti lit, no scent was put, she could feel that, Divya Sugandha around her. So that is how the chanting one name is more important than chanting the Sahasranamas. And with chanting one name, you are going to get concentration. Whereas with chanting multiple names, again, like suppose you say Vishnu Sahasranama, you are saying Anur Bruhat Krusha Sthulo. So you are thinking of Anu, then you are thinking of big one, Bruhat. Then you are thinking of Krusha, means very thin and small. You are thinking of Sthula, means gross. So again, your mind is going into multiple qualities of the Devata. So rather, if you say one name, that quality gets, very focused. You get to focus on that quality, and you try to, you start getting that quality of God. So when your mind is not able to focus, do chant the Sahasranama. But as soon as your mind is little stable, try to come back to the single name chanting. Is this clear? Dr. Mallikarjun and somebody else had asked this question. Namaste. Am I audible?
Yes, doctor, you
You're
are
audible,
audible.
Dr. Vatsali.
Yes. Dr. Mallikarjun, are you there? Well, there was somebody else who asked a question about Sahasranama. I hope that doctor's question is cleared. Okay, so then we come to the Dr. Mallikarjun's question about concentration. One is what as I told you, try to chant one single name. In between, as Dr. Lavanya, already the answers are there in the questions. As Lavanya said, for some time, try to play some music related to that Devata, then you get concentration. The other thing is, we are going to see in subsequent sessions, how to link your chanting to the breathing, to your inhalation and exhalation. That also gives you the concentration. The other method is to try to get the other senses involved in the chanting. That is, as you are sitting, closing your eyes and chanting, keep a picture of the deity in front of you, and you try to go on viewing the deity from, apada chuda, that is from the feet to the up, or from the top of the head to the bottom. So keep your mind on different parts of the devata and keep chanting. That also helps you. And there are, of course, other methods which we will be taking up in the subsequent session. For the beginning, you can start with these few things, that listening to music in between and trying to coordinate it with the breathing. Like suppose I'm saying Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I can say Om Namo at the beginning, then Bhagavate holding in and Vasudevaya breathing out. So that one can, depending on one's pace of chanting, one can link with the breathing. Remember that don't change the pace of the breathing to suit the chanting. The breathing has to be constant because that is a natural activity that is happening. You try to put the chanting into the different phases of breathing. Once you start doing it for some time, you will get practice and you will become an expert at it. And the other question about chanting the different names of different gods, it comes to the same thing. When we are trying to say that chanting even within that particular god, we are trying to say, try to get your mind to one name. So the same thing applies to chanting names of different devatas. Instead of chanting different devatas' names, chant only one name. Suppose you happen to go to any, suppose I go to a Shiva temple and my Kula Devata is Lakshmi Narayana. Then that time I will get a question. Should I say Om Namah Shivaya or should I say Lakshmi Narayana? Even that time I can go on chanting Om Namah Lakshmi Narayana. I can tell Lord Shiva that you are also a form of my Lakshmi Narayana only. I'm worshipping you today by chanting this name. And as we know, Shiva is the biggest Vishnu Bhakta. He is the one who is always doing Ramanam. So rather than, see, these are points where we have to take note of a very important thing, that chanting different gods is not wrong. Chanting different names is not wrong. We are talking of what is better than one is better than the other. So if you are used to chanting different gods' names, it may not be possible for you to come to one name soon. So you decide which name you're going to chant, your Kula Devata or your Ishta Devata, and then you slowly start putting in effort so that slowly you reduce the other chantings and try to come to one name. Dr. Ranjita, do we have time for the subtle experiment or?
No, doctor. We will end the session by
I think
question
it is
and
better to end. Yeah. We will take any more questions, Dr. Ranjita?
Dr. Kamal Nath has requested that he missed while the observations.
Oh.
And, he's asking that you were telling that we should observe where chanting happens.
Chanting.
Throat,
Okay.
He missed the thing. So you can just tell.
I will tell. Yeah. Dr. Kamal Nath, very nice, that you are really attentive and wanting to learn. It's very, I feel very inspired. So one has to observe whether the chanting is happening at the level of the lips, or at the tongue, or at the throat, or much deeper in the throat, or even in the heart level. Those who are advanced, been chanting for a long time, for example, who are already in Madhyama, Dr. Lavanya, Dr. Madhavi, and one more person, I can't remember the name. In your cases also, you can try to see where the chanting is happening. You are just aware that the chanting is happening. Try to localize and then try to see that by praying to God, surrendering to God and saying that let the chanting occur deeper. Or then when you start doing seva and you start doing tyag, then you see where the chanting occurs, whether it is changing. That also you can observe. Anything else?
No, doctor. Any doctors like they have doubt can ask.
Yeah, you can unmute and ask.
Namaste, ma'am.
Yes, Dr. Vishwanath. Yeah.
Ma'am, as a part of Vedic tradition, we have been, it has been told to us that first it's always we have to be more chanting with the Gayatri, then only the other mantras get powered or empowered. What is your take on this, ma'am?
We are talking about Nama Japa. We are not talking of Mantra Japa. Mantra Japa is Gayatri mantra. Okay. And as we all know, yes. And the other thing is, for Gayatri mantra, everybody is not an adhikari to do the Gayatri mantra. That is one thing. Second thing is Gayatri mantra, there are some restrictions. You have to Shuchi, Pavitra, then you have to have done snan. Now everybody, most of the time, lot of people are chanting the Gayatri mantra here and there and day in and day out, left and right. Whereas actually Gayatri mantra is a mantra and it has to be followed with all the restrictions that go with it. We would not recommend chanting
of different dimension, which you mean to say it's about related to mantras and it is nama.
Yes. Mantra japa is totally different and nama japa is different. See, nama japa, as we said once, Purandara Dasa has told Snana Sandhya Illadavarigu Hariya Nama. So Hariya Nama japa can be done anywhere. Mantra japa, no. Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah. Dr. Ranjita, can I take a quick feedback, only oral from the people? From the participants? If anyone, if anyone has felt that the topic I spoke too fast, if anybody has an answer yes, you can answer yes. Otherwise, we'll presume it is no. Okay. Dr. Ranjita, can we stop?
Yes, doctor.
Okay. Dr. Ranjita, will you please offer gratitude on behalf of all of us?
Yeah, sure, doctor. Before ending the satsang, today's satsang, if there are any any question answers, doctors can.
Hello.
Anybody else?
Doctor. Hello.
Yes, please go on.
Yeah, I have a doubt, doctor, actually.
Yes.
Can you hear me, doctor?
Yes, we can hear you clearly. Please go on.
What is the difference between Nama and mantra, doctor? For example, Rama, say
Yes.
Ram. When you tell Ram,
Yeah.
it is used as a mantra also, and it's also used as a Nama Japa also. What is the difference, doctor, between mantra and a japa?
The science of mantra is a whole science by itself. For each mantra, there will be there is what we say, there will be a devata, there will be a rushi, there will be one chandas, there will be one kilaka. There are different parts, and the mantra has to be given as a diksha. Either Gayatri mantra is given by the when at the time of the Upanayana, or the mantra diksha is given by somebody who is in a guru sthana. Whereas for Nama Japa, you don't need diksha. And Rama becomes a mantra if it is told by your guru that it is a mantra, and he tells you to chant with particular restrictions. Otherwise, by itself, Rama is a Nama Japa.
Nama Japa. Okay, doctor.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, doctor.
And we will be covering the topic of mantra japa also in subsequent sessions.
Yeah, doctor. Thank you. That will be very informative. Thank you, doctor. Thank you.
Yes. Dr. Ranjita?
Yes, doctor.
Yeah. So can we stop?
Yes, doctor.
Just 1 second, Dr. Ranjita, I wanted to just put in a request to all the doctors. Like, suppose there have been some questions which come to your mind after we finish this talk, later when you start doing the japa and all, they can note down the question and send the questions to their respective, whoever has contacted them. We can compile the questions and, suppose it is a practical question, a difficulty in chanting. We can tackle that, as and when the questions come in. We don't have to wait for the next satsang, so that they can start getting into action, Can they do that?
There was a network issue, doctor. Can you please repeat it?
What I was suggesting is, I was requesting all the participating doctors to, get in touch with the person through whom they have joined this session today, in case they have any difficulty in doing the chanting or in starting the chanting or any kind of doubt. They need not wait for 15 days. We want that, they should start the chanting right away. So once they start, if they have any difficulties or doubts, they can get in, send that question to the person who is in their contact from Hindu Jana Jagrati Samiti, so that we can talk to them and solve their question or difficulty, and they can go ahead faster with their sadhana.
Yes, doctor.
Yeah. Okay. Please, all of you, please make it a point. Write down your questions. Don't wait for the next fortnightly session. Write down your questions. Send the questions to the person who is, who has brought you into this meeting, and then we can solve those there, and then you can proceed fast with the sadhana. As we mentioned in the first session, when many of you were absent, times are going to be difficult hereafter. We have to increase and intensify our spiritual practice as soon as possible. Okay, that's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dr. Ranjita, ಕೃತಜ್ಞತೆ ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಾ?
Yes, doctor. Let's express our gratitude to our Upasya Devata, Lord Ganesha, and to His Holiness Dr. Jayant Balaji Athwale for conducting today's session without any obstructions, and we were able to collect all the points discussed in the satsang. And I would gratitude to all the doctors for giving their time for the satsang.
Dr. Ranjita, I just want to add that the next session will be there after a fortnight.
Yes, doctor.
Yeah. So probably 24th or whichever is that Sunday, we will
Yes, Doctor.
inform all of you. Yeah, everybody please keep yourself free. And I also want to request all of you that if you have any friends, colleagues, doctors or non-doctors, you please pass on their contacts also to the person whom